Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Mindset Monday. We're here at the end of October. Uh, can't believe it, coming up on November this Saturday. And I hope everyone has been looking at their business and have that mindset of you are going to have the best end of the year and also preparing your mindset for 2026. It's weird to say that, but yes, it'll be here before we know it. So this is the time of year where I feel we should all be looking at what you did for the year, look at each month, and then look at each quarter, and then start to wrap things up on your goals and everything that you're going to be working on. Again, like I said, to prepare for the next year. November, December are perfect months to reach out to your sphere, to wish everyone the holidays, great holidays, and get together with your sphere as well. And so today, what I'd like to do um, is, let me see if I can share my screen. I'm going to talk about um, the Think and Grow Rich book. So let me get up the current slide here. There we go. So what I did is I started going back and looking at the book Think and Grow Rich, and I tried to compare it to um, things that as real estate agents, some of the principles that we really need to look at when looking at your goals, looking at your daily life, right? And so hopefully everyone on the call here has read Think and Grow Rich. If you haven't, get the Audible. It's a beautiful book based on principles for daily living and for your business and for everything in life. There is a movie. The movie is fantastic too. So go and check out the movie if you can. Just, go to YouTube, and I'm pretty sure it's free. I've watched it a couple of times. So you can find it and watch the movie. You'll get a really good foundation on watching the movie as well. But it's just a fantastic book. So let's start with the introduction. Based on this book, they did, it's really, I'm trying to remember the year, but it's been around for a long time. But they did a study about 20 years ago on those principles of Think and Grow Rich, and then started to apply them to real estate agent success. And again, it begins with mindset. And so from your mindset, you take action. That's the biggest thing. I was at EXPCon last week, and they talked about, looking at your now and then what's next. And that now aspect of is really, your mindset. And then the next is taking action. You got to take action in order to accomplish any of your dreams and goals. And so we're going to talk about 7 lessons, that can actually help you to elevate your real estate career based on these principles. So the first thing you got to do is, on principle number 1 is own that desire. What is your desire? It, shouldn't be just to sell homes, because of course we do want to sell homes. That's our business. But you also need to look at why. Because if you have a why behind your desire, then it helps you. It helps you with that aspect of getting that desire to come true. You have to, again, take action. So I want you to identify right now what you want to learn. And that's why, I went to EXPCon so that I could learn all kinds of different ways for marketing, different ways of creating leads. And this lesson number 1 is, once you create that desire and then you look at your why, the action for you to take right now is I want you to write down your top 3 desires. Okay. You could take a screenshot of this because we're going to move along, but I really want you to look at 3 things that you want to happen. And maybe it's 3 things you want to happen by the end of the year. And what actions are going to have to happen, or actions that you need to do to make those 3 desires and manifest those. Lesson number 2 is really, really important. Okay, you have your desire, you have your why. Why do you want these things in your life? And you have to believe it. So belief is huge. And if you don't have that belief behind that desire, nothing's going to happen. So the best thing that you can do is start surrounding yourself with agents who have achieved what you want. So let's just say you want to make icon. All right, that's a goal of mine as well. So I learn from icons. I hang around with the icons, have them motivate you. That mindset of what do they do every single day, those routines and those systems that they have in order to get to an icon status. And I think that that's one of the best things that EXP offers, is to give you that 16,000 cap that you've reached and give it back to you in stock, because that's helping me personally every time I reach it, is to work on my retirement. And that's a desire that I have, a burning desire that I have. Within 3 years, I want to retire, step out of production, help agents. And so I have to look at that why, and then I have to list, the things that I have to do, the actions that I have to take. So this action step on this believing that it's possible is think about 3 role models. Think about 3 agents, or even look at Glenn Sanford or look at Leo Pareja. Those are great role models to look at how they've created something so huge in our business. But it could be somebody close to home, your team leader, or somebody that you work with, and just ask them, about their systems and their routines and how that they actually achieve their goals. So lesson 3 is you have to have a plan, and it has to be an organized plan. It can't just be, writing down the things that you want and not really looking at it and saying how it's going to happen. So I like where it says desire without a plan is just a dream. So hopefully we all are dreamers here, but at the same time, when you're dreaming, you also have to look at how can you turn this dream into reality. So, break your goals down. That's what I find the easiest thing with my business plan every year when I'm looking at it, is I don't just put a number there, a number of transactions that I need to close and a number of sales volume that I want to reach. You have to break it down. You have to break it down into these daily actions that you're going to take, and then look at your week, and then break it down per month. How's January 2026? What are you going to be doing? And then look at that overall year, and then start tracking it. Track how many calls you make per day, how many listing appointments you need to go on to have a certain amount of listings. Same thing with working with buyers. How many buyers do you need to meet in order to break it down and look at those daily actions in order for you to close a certain amount of transactions? So let's say you want to close 52 transactions. You could break it down into, I want to have a closing a week, or I'm going to have, 4 closings a month. And some months I'm going to have a few more. And then, the quote that you could look at is, when you start inspecting, what we inspect, we can expect to grow. I like that. That came out of Think and Grow Rich, is what we inspect, we can expect. So again, if you have an action plan and it's very organized, and you look at it, you're going to be able to understand how you can get there. And that belief becomes a little bit easier because once you start believing it and you're doing it, you're like, I've got this, right? So I want you really to look at that scorecard that you have and and name top 3 things that you're going to do to get to that. And once you start following it, like I said, it's going to become a lot easier for you. So lesson 4, and again, hopefully, you're taking some notes or screenshots, but, we talked about belief. Now, from belief comes faith. And I always talk about how a lot of people say, oh, I hope that I can close 3 more deals before the end of the year, or I hope that I can become icon. Hope is got to have something behind it. That's why I always talk about faith. Faith is stronger than hope. Of course, you want to hope things happen, but at the same time, if you have faith, faith is a stronger word. Faith is a belief. And when you have faith and you back that belief with action, then the things that you want, that you desire, are going to manifest. And you have to trust your plan. Okay. So you have to work through, have that effort, take what it takes, give what it takes as well. And you will have some, accomplishments. So I always believe, I have a book. My book is called Inner Being and Balance, and belief is my first chapter. But then in the book, I talk about celebrating. And I feel that if you celebrate your small wins, it's sort of like this rewards system that you get. And we always look at life as if I can celebrate life, I'm attracting more of it, right? So if you're constantly working really hard and you don't celebrate your wins, a lot of times your body, you can get burned out, your mind can get burned out. But when you give a little bit of that celebration of you accomplishing something, then what happens is your cholesterol level goes down, your cortisol goes down, you're putting your body in that celebrating type of energy, and then you will attract more of what you want. And I know a lot of fear goes behind some things in your life. Fear of, will I be able to do this? Sometimes people have fear of being successful. They're like, well, what if I do, have this happen in my life? And then they start looking at things. If I have to work so many hours to get to it, what's going to happen with the other things in my life? So you have to sort of have this faith that everything that you're going to do is, when it happens, you've sort of blocked that fear from it, right? So make fear stronger than fear. Fear might come up, but again, put that faith back in there going, I am going to accomplish this no matter what. And the action step that I want you to take is maybe write down a fear that you have and one way that you can replace it with faith. So again, a lot of times when you get real deep and you start asking yourself these questions, what is this fear? Why do I have a fear of accomplishing these goals? And it could be around money. I mean, you wouldn't believe how many people say that, I don't want to be considered rich. And I'm like, why would you not want to be considered rich? And they say, well, my parents weren't rich. My family, my sisters, my brothers, they're not wealthy. And I don't want them to look at me a different way. And I always say, replace that with faith that they're going to still love you. Your family's going to love that you have reached this level of success. And you can also help them, help these members of your family to see that this is what, having these goals and accomplishing them has done for my life. And then you can share the wealth, share the love. The other thing is resistance, and that's, part of that fear that we just talked about. And Think and Grow Rich talks a lot about resistance. So when you're reading the book, you'll see what I'm talking about when it says that the more you try for something, what happens a lot of times is that resistance is going to build up. And I've had this happen to me before. When you have these really, really burning desires to do something, a lot of times it's not an easy course. You're going through, let's say you're a ship on a ocean and it's stormy weather, but you've got a destination, right? You're going through all of these waves, and then you'll reach a certain point, and then it becomes calm. The water becomes calm, and then all of a sudden you're floating to your destination, and it's a lot easier. But in the beginning, you're going to have to get outside your comfort zone, because if you're comfortable, that means you're not growing. And a lot of times we have excuses, we have procrastination, and then the biggest thing is that fear of rejection, fear of, what if I do this? What if they say no, right? And a great example would be when I decided to go after expired listings for luxury homes. I'd never done that before, but I learned at EXP how to do it. And when I was building these kits and building these books to send out to expired listings, in the back of my head, my ego was going, well, what if they just think this is trash or think this is crazy? They don't like this presentation and they're not going to call me. I couldn't think like that. I had to think that everything that I'm putting together is great information. I'm going to do this. I'm not going to procrastinate. I'm going to send these out, and people are going to respond to me. And so I visualized it, got rid of the excuses, and just did it. And then all of a sudden I had these people calling me and asking me if I could come see their house and list the property. So every challenge that you go through in real estate, because right now we're going through a big market shift, right? We've had it pretty much all year. And I want you to know that every time we have something like this in life, that you're going to grow from it. So instead of blaming the market or blaming the interest rates or blaming, there's always going to be somebody that wants to buy or sell real estate, and you need to be that person. So whatever market it is, whether it's a down market, a buyer's market, a seller's market, an up market, you should be growing. And again, step outside of that comfort, move past that resistance. And when you start growing, you're going to see that whatever you desire, no matter what kind of market it is, you're still going to be able to accomplish your goals. So the action step for this principle is, I want you to identify 3 sources of things you might be resisting and how you can overcome those. So again, I just talked about, interest rates, or I have a lot of listings right now, and a lot of, I'm like looking at those listings as sometimes they can feel like resistance because no one's purchasing them right now. But what I have to do is to overcome them. I have to know that I'm growing from this, learning negotiations and how I'm going to get these properties sold. So take this, identify your top 3 resistance things that are happening in your business and how you're going to overcome them. So lesson 6 is the power of the mastermind. So I hope you attend masterminds. Like there's one today. There's one pretty much every day at EXP. We talk about that mastermind aspect of how great our company is with providing so many different masterminds. Attend these masterminds, especially for people that have done something that you want to do with your business. So surround yourself with these kind of peers, people that are I look at the agent attraction aspect of my organization and how many people I want to attract into my organization. So, of course, last week at EXPCon, I went to a lot of those masterminds that were around what people are doing to attract more agents into their business. Because that mastermind, what it does is it shows you people that have done it, and you can get support from them. You can get all kinds of ideas. And maybe what you want to do is even ask somebody to be your accountability partner. Because when you hold yourself accountable, if you hold yourself accountable by yourself, a lot of times you're not getting the feedback or the support or great ideas because it's just you. So if you pick somebody else or pick two other people to work with to hold each other accountable, then you're going to grow. You're going to learn new things. So what this says, this power of the mastermind is join or create one. Okay, if there's something not out there that you really are interested in and you can't find a mastermind around it, then create one. All right. So I'm working with creating a negotiation class right now because I feel like people can benefit from negotiations. It's tough out there right now with the negotiations between buyers and sellers. And so I want to hold people accountable for that. Weekly check-ins can transform. So any kind of accountability that you have can transform your business. And so this action step is maybe what you want to do is form a 3-person mastermind or even more people and just commit to that every week. So we have a team meeting and, I within my team and every Tuesday at 9:00, I encourage people to come to the team meeting because hopefully you're going to learn something and it's only, an hour out of your week. So maybe you can start something like that. Think of what kind of topic it is. Maybe it's this. Maybe it's discussing Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich book and inviting people to that and just going through these 7 steps and commit to doing something weekly and holding each other accountable. So the best part of Think and Grow Rich, to me personally, is working with your unconscious mind. And so this is the principle 7, lesson 7 is harness that unconscious mind. And I'm sure you've all heard of your reticular activating system, and the short term is RAS. And so RAS is amazing. It's what it does in your brain. Your reticular activating system is part of your brain that helps you to focus. And it filters out everything else that doesn't have anything to do with that focus. So, and it's very helpful to think about it. Think about when you're visualizing and you're focusing really hard on this goal that you want to achieve, and all of that shiny stuff or those things that you don't really need to go after will start to disappear out of your unconscious mind. And so that's really great with affirmations, because if you start to look at the affirmations and you're focusing in on exactly what you want and then focusing in on that why, it helps your mind, again, to get rid of all of those things that you don't really need to be seeing or listening to. So when you focus on success, your mind will start to match the opportunities. So when you're writing down, let's say, you write down these affirmations of these things, or you listen to a podcast, or you're going to these accountability mastermind meetings, you're feeding your non-conscious or your subconscious something every single day, and you have a positive input on it. And so whenever anything's positive within your subconscious or unconscious mind, it wants more of it. Okay. So I always talk about the universe, the universe has got my back. The universe, if I ask the universe, I will receive. And so I focus in on exactly what I want. Again, look at the why, have that belief, focus in on the positive aspects of it. If you want a certain amount of money, why do you want that certain amount of money? What are you going to do with it? And have that positive input surround it, and you focus on it. And then what you're going to see is what you focus on expands. And you might want to write that down because I say it all the time. What you focus on expands. For example, if you really want a new car and you keep looking at this car online, all of a sudden, when you're focusing in on this is what I want, you're going to see that car everywhere you go. You're going to be driving and be like, there's that car that I want. There's that car that I want. Because it's focusing in your mind, your non-conscious mind, and you don't see all these other kind of cars. You're going to see just that car because you've been focusing in on it. So the action step that I want you to do is write a daily affirmation aligned with that top goal that you want, whether it's earning a certain amount of money, whether it's closing a certain amount of transactions. And the way I want you to write it is put joy into it, because when you have joy and positivity around your affirmation, it's going to feel better. And when you feel better, you're going to actually attract more people that can help you get to that goal. So I always say, I enjoy closing 25 transactions or more per year. And then when I say I enjoy, it's, I've got this joy around it. I know the number of transactions that I want to close. And I say or more because you always want to give that goal a higher number, or, you don't want it just to be exact. So write that affirmation, align it with your top goal. And I would say write it down and carry those. We talked about that with Gene Frederick. He got up on stage last week and he said, is there anybody here that has their written goals with them? And only a couple of hands went up. So I had to be reminded that if I want to always have that goal in my mind, I have to have it written so that I can always look at it. So putting it all into action, you might want to take a screenshot of this for the 7 principles from Napoleon Hill. And this is based, for real estate agents. Define your burning desire, strengthen that belief by learning from other people, mentors, create that organized plan of action, cultivate the faith. Remember, we you got to have faith. You got to have that belief, that desire, but then the faith has to go with it so that you can have that consistent effort of you doing it. Move past any kind of resistance or excuses and embrace that discomfort, because you are going to be uncomfortable, and that means you're growing. Build a mastermind for accountability. Have somebody hold you accountable. You hold others accountable. And then I want you to reprogram your non-conscious for success. Reprogram that so that that program is running, that you are successful. You are going to accomplish your goals. All right. So really the benefits of applying these lessons that we've talked about is you're going to have the stronger mindset. You're going to be able to focus better. That consistent lead generation is going to be coming because you are actually focusing on the goals and focusing on what you need for your real estate business. Have that confidence. All right. You are going to achieve your goals. You're going to have better accountability and support, and you are going to align between thoughts and actions and results. So really that's what it is. It starts with your thoughts, you take action, and then you have those results. The conclusion part of it is you always hear, when these people are icon 10 years in a row, or they have 10,000 people in their downline at agent attraction. It isn't luck. All right. Don't ever think that it's luck, because people have worked for that. And it's all built on that mindset and the actions that they've taken and the discipline that they've made. And having your goals written down, looking at it every single day, looking at your business plan, you're going to be able to focus through it. And again, what you focus on expands. And so if you look at these daily principles, it's going to help you improve your income. It's just going to do it because you're doing those steps and you are going to have influence. And once you have influence, you are going to attract everything that you need. So the challenge I want you to take, all right, is out of these 7 lessons, which lesson will you act on this week? Can you at least do action number 1, where you're going to list your goals and then you're going to take action? That's really what it's all about. All right. So hope you learned something from this. I really love Think and Grow Rich. So maybe I've given you some inspiration to go out and read it. And I hope you have a fantastic week. All right. Bye, everybody.
If you'd like more information or to get connected to the Agent Power Huddle, join our free Facebook group. This call was designed for the agents in our EXP organization, but open to any agent from any brokerage. If you're a guest and you're interested in learning more about EXP or our specific resources within the Agent Collective, reach out to the person who invited you to this call to get more info. Produced by the Agent Collective Media Network.